Dave here. I'm with Ann Byle. Ann, how is writing from a Christian perspective different from writing from a secular perspective?
Dave, frankly, as a journalist, there shouldn't be any different perspective. It doesn't matter what I'm writing about as a magazine article or as a newspaper article. I'm a writer first in that regard. It doesn't matter if I'm a Christian and I'm writing a story about the haunt, say, here in Grand Rapids, or changes in the healthcare field. I'm going to do a big story on some of the unique things going on in new medical perspectives and new medical practices. It doesn't matter whether I'm a Christian or not as I do that story. I think what matters is that I do it well, and I do it to the best of my ability. I meet my deadlines. I write the story as they want it written. I keep within word count. I think that's important because as a Christian, you're called to do your best job. But for me to be a Christian and write that story, that shouldn't matter into that story. Now, I can do stories that no one else would know about as a believer. One time I did a story on Moms in Touch for the Grand Rapids Press. They had never heard of it. Well, me as a Christian, I knew all about it. And so I could say to them, let's do a story on this, and they could say yes. So I think as a believer, I bring in different story ideas that perhaps the secular media would not know anything about. There might be books that I write about that would never have been written about otherwise because, as a rule, the media wouldn't learn about some of those Christian titles. So I think that's interesting, is that I can bring different stories that perhaps the media doesn't know about. Now, writing fiction is a different story because as a writer of fiction, you write from a place of hope as a believer. So many things that kids and adults are reading now out in the secular world are dark. They're despairing. They're dystopian. There's no hope. But as a Christian, I write from a place of hope. There is redemption in the world. There is hope for a better life. There is hope for salvation in whatever form that looks like when you read a novel. And I think that's important for a Christian, especially a Christian fiction writer, is to write from that place of hope and not from that place of despair.
As a Christian, how does that translate into being a writer in a fallen world?
I think that translates into just being a nice human being. You know, as a Christian, we have hope, we have commandments toward kindness and compassion. And I think that translates into how I behave as a human to my fellow human beings. That means kindness. It means being compassionate. It means being patient. People have deadlines. They send me emails that I could be offended at because they're terse. Well, you know what? It's not about me. And as a Christian, I can say, you know what? I'm going to offer that person forgiveness. I'm going to offer that person compassion and kindness. I'm going to care about their world and their lives. And I will ask my editors, how are you doing? What's going on? I think it just translates from being a Christian to just being a human being who cares about other human beings. And I think that is huge for some of these people out there in the world who don't get that a lot. They get hysteria and ego and demands and impatience, and they have a lot of things to deal with some pretty nasty people, and I don't want to be one of those people. And as a believer, I can have a base for saying, you know what, I'm going to offer a little compassion and patience today.